we had 8 pages, and we changed the font to like 14.5, and then we had like extra spacing.
The margins.
We did like typing in white, so like you couldn't see the typing, but it was extended.
Yep.
Alrighty. Welcome back to another episode of 217 South Mills.
Brought to you by Cabin Coffee Altoona, located at 2922 Meadowlark Lane in Altoona, Wisconsin.
And Pizza Del Rey, our favorite pizza place in the state of Wisconsin, located in Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
Leadership, making those around you better. And as athletes, inspire your teammates through words and actions. They hold themselves and others accountable. In life and in business and in family. In business, great leaders build strong teams and culture. And in family, leadership means being a strong, steady presence for your kids and your spouse. I guess the biggest lesson out of there is leadership isn't about control. It's about serving. Again, that word serving, guiding and elevating others. And I think, again, this is something where we've been talking about this throughout this entire thing. Obviously, leadership, no matter what you're doing, is important. I don't care if you're a fry, working at McDonald's and you're operating the fries. It doesn't matter what you do, and no one can bestow upon you that pride in what you need to do. Only you can find your purpose. And I mentioned that before, losing your purpose. If you're not happy where you are, you have the ability to change it. It's, do you want to change it? And how serious are you about it? And if you're going to do that, you have to serve other people while you're in this stepping stone of where you want to be. You still have to be accountable. You still have to be a leader, and you still have to serve other people. It's that simple.
The one note I made here, even though the first line says through words and actions, it starts with inspire teammates through words and actions. So I know we said a lot about that player or person that's chirping a lot. This, just for the audience's understanding, this is totally different. This is using words and actions to inspire somebody to be better. I made the note, lead by example. Like all of these things hold yourself accountable and others. So it's not just you being the team captain or the leader telling everybody else what they're doing wrong. You're admitting when you're at fault, when you did something wrong. You're holding yourself accountable just as much as everybody else. So it's leading by example and sort of saying, do as I do, not as I say.
Right.
I think here in Wausau, we're pretty privileged to have Dr. Bouch, who's an aside. He's a sports psychologist, works with the U.S. Olympic hockey team. And he gave a speech, presentation to the Wausau War Jacks, and this was probably 5-6 years ago, and it was probably the most influential presentation I ever listened to. And basically, he said, learn to give praise to your kids. And the story is this: think about it this way. If your kid hits, let's say, 2 home runs in a game, what do you guys do? You take them to celebrate ice cream. What do you do when your kid maybe, lines out, 3 times, goes 0 for 3? You probably say, you tell him what he could have done better. But if you break that down even more, the 2 home runs is against a powder puff, the last guy in the field that can pitch. And those 3 line drives are against a guy that's going to be all-state and possibly going into the major leagues. He had a better game in that 0 for 3 than he did at hitting 2 home runs. Mm-hmm. So Dr. Bouch he uses, he gives praise by saying, hey, I love seeing you hustle out there. I love seeing you give a high five. It makes me proud watching you, hustle. And when you use words of praise like that, it makes athletes and your kids want to perform. It's those little things in life that it's not, who gets the MVP trophy, mm-hmm. right? It's not scoring 3 goals and then publicly blasting on social media that your kid's the greatest athlete, because it's putting pressure on them. Right. And that AAU, it's different. Like when I remember playing basketball, some of my most fun games were playing against local schools in a 50-mile radius of here of Wausau. And now to play, for example, hockey, we got to go to Minnesota, drive 2.5 hours, stay in a hotel for 2 nights for our kids to play against the best 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds. When we were young, you'd play up a couple levels, like you play up a couple grades.
Yep.
And it's not about the performance; it's about the activities and praising that. And so, thank you, Dr. Bouch, for giving that presentation.
That's very good info for sure.
If you'd like fresh roasted cabin coffee delivered directly to your door, go to Cabin Coffee Altoona's Facebook page or 217 South Mills Facebook page. Click on the coffee order form link, fill it out, pick out your beans, and get them delivered directly to your front door. Cabin Coffee Altoona.
Competitive fire, the will to win, wanting to be the best. You got to hate losing more than you love winning. You got to push yourself to compete, improve, and never settle. In your business and family and life. In business, competition drives innovation and excellence. In family, life, competition fuels personal growth. You're trying to become the best version of yourself for those who depend on you. The lesson is never settle, keep pushing, and compete with yourself every day. And that can be taught, right? And if you want to be better, you have to be persistent about it, and you got to want it. And it's that inner drive and surrounding yourself with people and friends that want to see you succeed. And that's why I like track so much. I think it's awesome when somebody starts a season, their goal is just to get better. And I love seeing everybody clap and applaud, watching people get their personal bests. And I think CrossFit's another great sport where people are getting those personal achievement awards of personal records, personal bests. Like, isn't that what life's about? Is coming together and praising those successes.
Absolutely. My takeaway was when you said, I forget what word you used, but I thought of attitude. Just having that attitude of never settling, never be content with where you're at right now, always trying to improve yourself. And like we say, it is for sports, for life, for family, for business. It's always trying to improve yourself, your surroundings, and the people that are around you. But to me, that's just not settling for where you're at today. It's what is your goal for the future and what are you going to do? What's your attitude going to be to work to get to that goal, to accomplish that?
In supporting your community, I think, we've talked a little bit about, ESPN and NFL Network. NFL Network they're going to talk about football. They're going to talk about the NFL, right? And ESPN is going to talk about their sports that are on their channels, right? But what we're forgetting is our local sports. Some of the best competition I've seen, I got to watch Wassa West there, and good luck. They're going to state. They're playing, for a chance to win the big trophy, which is cool. But some of the best games have been just regular games against New Richmond. I mean, it's just physical. And I'm sitting front row against the glass. And think about it. If I wanted to see that in NHL, how much is a front row, NHL and that the four nations? I mean, those tickets were going for what, $1,200-$1,300?
Yeah.
And here you can go see high school sports for $6-7. Yeah. High school football is some of the greatest community events, every year. And we're starting to forget that because why? All of our local newspapers are gone.
Yeah.
Right? They don't talk about the Little League box scores anymore. They don't talk about, the football games and the stories anymore. So get back to that. I promise you there's, and then part of that also is, before you leave, find an athlete and say, hey, great job out there. Man, it's fun watching you play. Give that praise, because as an athlete, do you remember those local,
absolutely,
fans that would praise you and how good that felt? And if you remember that, give that praise back 100 times.
Well, I think the three of us will all admit at the stable that we all got to the college level. I got to a little bit of the professional level, but I think if any of us were to give any time back, we'd want to be back at that high school level. Like my senior year, we sucked record-wise. But man, oh man, there's nothing like playing on a Friday night in your home stadium, in your hometown. Mm-hmm. Friends and family in the stands. I mean, we accomplished a lot of great things in college, and I had some great opportunities afterwards. But yeah, that high school experience, it's just amazing. And it comes and goes. For the kids that are in the middle of it right now, it's going to be over before you know it. Yep. Probably 80-90% of you will never put the gear on ever again. Yep. But some of the best moments of your life, and you make some of your best friends throughout your life doing it.
Yep, you can coach. Think of ways you can give back. You can coach, you can volunteer, you can help with the concession stands, you can help raise money for benefits, golf outings. It's definitely a way to give back. And I can tell you, the best coaching story I've ever had, I can tell you, football, coaching stories of, wins, losses. But my best coaching story was coaching girls softball. Me and Coach Grundy, we had to come together uh, and coach freshman girls softball. And I'll tell you, the first game, long story short, the team, majority of them played slow pitch softball the year before. And as freshmen, back in the day, it was their first fast pitch experience. So, of course, our first game, and Coach Grundy's working with the outfielders. He's got tennis rackets and hitting them fly balls. And we were struggling the first game to catch fly balls, right? And so, of course, we play Stevens Point. And if anybody here in Wisconsin knows, Stevens Point's the largest attendance school in the state. And I would say, our pitchers, we were struggling, because first time throwing fast pitch. Before you know it, Stevens Point's up like 20-0 on us, right? So I ended up doing a mass substitution. And long story short, the coach on the opposing, you can't do that. So I'm like, this is our first game. This is practice, right? Well, long story short, we went 500, but the last game was against Stevens Point. And I'd like to tell you it's a miracle, USA story, but we lost 3-1. And that was the biggest improvement. I've never been more proud of a team that came together. They all tried different positions. They all learned how to, pitch. Every person, got to learn. And those girls, of all the teams that I've coached, they were something special right there. And it's fun as a coach seeing them. Some are doctors now, some are teachers. One is an HR at Green Hack. It's just fun seeing, how they develop and how they have kids and families. So being coaches is important. So Thank you to all the coaches.
Absolutely.
Hey, Joe, what the heck does it mean when you say Cabin Coffee Altoona is a roastery? Are you making fun of the coffee or something?
Come on now, Bill. Sounds to me like you've had one too many shots to the head. It means we're a roastery. We buy our beans green from all over the world and roast right here on site. It's the freshest coffee you can get.
Is that why one place I used to go to tasted burnt and the other place tastes like brown flavored water?
That's exactly why, Bill. So stop on down to 2922 Meadowlark Lane. Cabin Coffee Altoona. Just remember, folks, everything's better at the cabin.
Next up, we have time management, maximizing every minute. With athletes planning out training, recovery, and personal life with precision, knowing that every second matters. Wasted time equals lost opportunity. In life, family, and business, or life, business, and family. In business, time management means efficiency, productivity, and results. In family, it means being present, making quality time count, and the takeaway, control your time or it will control you. Back to what I said earlier, I just think athletes' schedule and routines become huge. Like we had our days broken down to the minutes at times when we were traveling. And I think it's just something that allows you to maintain success and consistency later on in life, whether it is with your family, whether it is with work, or just in your personal life, having a schedule and routine. It's something I learned I need it. When I don't have it, I fail. When I have it, my days and weeks go a lot better.
My biggest big takeaway is being present and making quality time count. Now, just because you're there physically, and I struggle with this, I'm not always there mentally, and I'm not in the moment. And then I realize those are the important times that I've missed out on. I was there physically, but I was not there mentally, and I was not there emotionally. Whether it be for my kids in sports or whatever it is, or for my wife, that's the part. Even though I'm there physically, I may not have been mentally, and now that's the part that I regret, because being there emotionally is probably the most important thing.
Yeah.
So,
in business, one of the things that I've learned is, they call it lean management, right? And value to a customer. And you like this, Bill, is one of the things is, and when there's wasted movement, if I got a supervisor that, they say, boy, my day is really busy. I walked 6 miles, right? You're thinking, gosh, you're running a line and you're walking 6 miles in the day. Well, 6 miles a day, think of how long it takes to walk a mile. We'll just say 20 minutes. So now you got 120 minutes that are just wasted time, and we call it spaghetti. Okay, so it's an Italian thing, but if you have a lot of spaghetti in your life, in your business, that's wasted time, right? And in life, in business, so if you're on a production line and you got waste, you fix it, right? Because otherwise you're not profitable. But I see a lot of organizations that, on the computer tasks and all this, they're not organized the way they store their files. And it takes wasted spaghetti trying to find those files. But in life, think about it. If you break it down, you got a lot of wasted spaghetti, meaning you're doing things that aren't there for your goal of spending time with your family. Get rid of that spaghetti, right? Find, reevaluate what the positives you like, what works for you, what you like doing, and get rid of all the other stuff. So it's been one of the key critical things. And part of a business also is making it turnkey. Right? In the military, it's structure, it's turnkey. You know when you're waking up, you know when you're training, you know this. And that's where in football, I kind of miss that, actually, knowing that my whole day was structured. And the real life is when you step out of it, if you like it, make sure your day is structured. Make sure if you like working out, set your time that you're working out. And do your work, get your work done, and then structure your family time. Structure your fun time. If you golf, if you fish, or you draw, or you're a musician, find that time to allow yourself to grow.
If you'd like fresh roasted cabin coffee delivered directly to your door, go to Cabin Coffee Altoona's Facebook page or 217 South Mills Facebook page. Click on the coffee order form link, fill it out, pick out your beans, and get them delivered directly to your front door. Cabin Coffee Altoona.
All right, moving on. The challenges of leadership and why it's not easy. I think handling of criticism and pressure. In SEALs, in football and law enforcement, captains take the heat when things go wrong. Leaders have to be willing to be unpopular at times, staying humble while leading. SEALs are the most elite, but they're also the most humble because arrogance gets people killed. In football, the best leaders serve the team first, not their own egos. A great leader who was all about them. Great leaders who was all about the team and not about themselves. How to develop leadership skills. Can leadership skills be learned, or are people born with it? Practical ways to become a better leader. Practice better ways to become leader every day. So that is a good question. Do you think leaders are born, or are they formed?
I think it's a little both. I mean, I think there's leaders that you could say they're natural leaders from the time they were kids, but at the same time too, who are their parents?
Right.
Who are they hanging around? They're picking it up from somewhere.
Right.
For it to be learned, absolutely. I mean, we had the ability to grow into leaders, but we also were below tremendous leaders that were older than us, that we looked up to during our time. But yeah, at the same time too, I don't like, for anybody out there, especially if it's youth listening to this, trying to become a leader in sports or in school or whatever aspect of your life, it's not easy. You're not always making the unanimous happy decision. Most of the time you're saying, we got to get an extra run in tomorrow morning at 5-6 in the morning. We screwed up. We got to improve in this area. Hey, we're not going to the party tonight because we got a game tomorrow or in 2 days, whatever.
Right.
You're not always making the popular decision as a leader, which doesn't always come as the easiest thing. But my one takeaway, and I take it back to a football story, the line about their egos and serving the team first. And these are two players that we all know at the table. Number one was LeVar Arrington, who we played against in college at Penn State. He was, when I was with the Redskins, LeVar was on the Redskins, and our starting cornerback was Fred Smoot. Fred Smoot had a mouth that went like the Energizer Bunny. But he was a leader, and he was about the team. He'd run his mouth because he was cocky, because he was really good at what he did. And the one day it stood out, we were all in the locker room, and LeVar was really running his mouth. And I'm not a huge fan of LeVar. Like, obviously, we told the Who's Mike Samuel story about LeVar. And I think LeVar is dumb as a box of rocks in both football and the real world. But LeVar came in the locker room, and Fred Smoot got up and said, LeVar, I got a question for you. Would you rather win Defensive Player of the Year, or would you rather win a Super Bowl? And LeVar looked Fred Smoot dead in the eye, and everybody was in the locker room. He goes, I'd rather win Defensive Player of the Year. Fred Smoot tore him a new asshole. Right. He's like, that's why we're going to fail as a team. That's why you're going to fail as an individual. That's why our defense is going to fail, because you're about yourself, not about the team. Right. And Fred, even though Fred talked a lot, he put that team ahead of himself. He put that defense ahead of himself. And I think, whether you're a leader or you just want to have success in life, you have to have structure in the way you view things and the way you handle things. And especially if you're a part of a team, you cannot put yourself in front of that team.
I think one of the things there are a couple of things actually that comes out is if you guys haven't, if you're constantly looking to learn TED Talks, if you haven't seen those, they're fantastic. I mean, all professions, all different ways to learn and learn a new perspective. One of my favorite TED Talks was memory games. In memory games, this guy was just fascinated. There's people out there that can remember 4, 5, 6 decks of playing cards, every one in order. Right. And he's like, he goes into it and he's like, you just must be a savant. Right. How do you do this? It's just remarkable, the learning. And they talk, I'm no savant. I'm just a normal person. But they were trained, right, through basically from the, before Christ times, 2,000, 3,000 years that were passed on. And long story short, everybody's born a savant. Right. And it's by people telling you no and no and no, they just start losing their so-called savantism.
Yeah.
And it comes to the hardest workers are putting 10,000 reps in. And there's a book, the second part is there's a book, Outliers, that talks about people that get 10,000 reps of something, they become masters of their trade.
Mm-hmm.
So Bill Gates, there's stories of these guys hacking the University of Washington while us guys were probably partying. These guys knew that they could hack the system with their remember those sliding or library cards? They were getting 10,000 hours of computer time when nobody in the country had it, right? They talk about NHL athletes that birthdays were born in January, February, March. So how hockey goes is if you're born in, let's say, 2010, all 2010s compete against each other. But think about it at, 5 years old, 6 years old, 7-year-old, those January, February, March birthdays, they're a little more developed than somebody that's born in December. So long story short, it was when you start looking at those NHL guys, seems like all of them that there was a percentage that made the NHL with January, February, March birthdays because they got 10,000 more reps than the normal person. So if you really like something, practice it over and over, and you can probably achieve your goals, right? So 2 things to look at.
If you'd like fresh roasted cabin coffee delivered directly to your door, go to Cabin Coffee Altoona's Facebook page or 217 South Mills Facebook page. Click on the coffee order form link, fill it out, pick out your beans, and get them delivered directly to your front door. Cabin Coffee Altoona.
The next thing is resilience, bouncing back from setbacks. Athletes, how do they respond when they get cut, lose games, suffer injuries, but they come back stronger? They use failure as fuel, not as excuse to quit. In life, business, family, businesses fail. Jobs get lost. Relationships go through struggles. But resilience, keeping you moving forward. The strongest families and marriages push through adversity together. Lesson, tough times reveal your true character. And I think in sports, last year in the NHL playoffs, I thought it was remarkable when Game 7, Connor McDavid, the star athlete, he was the last person off the ice. Everybody got off, and he kind of took it all in. I just remember watching him, took it all in. And I think if I'm a betting man, I'm going to be putting, Edmonton Oilers as a chance to win it this year because he's definitely wants it. He's tasted it. He was so close. And the other story is, I remember when the Chicago Bulls, Michael Jordan tells it, like they are just getting dominated by the Detroit Pistons. Remember the bad boys? They were just much more physical team with Dennis Rodman and Lambeer and Isaiah Thomas. And, Jordan realized that, hey, being that star athlete, but not being strong was not getting them a championship. So the next day they started working out. And I think that whole Netflix series, the last season, or what was that?
Last Dance.
The Last Dance.
Yeah.
I mean, that was fantastic.
It was unbelievable, yes. And that could have come at a better time with all that was going on in the world to be able to watch that. That was powerful. But yes, I look at the word resilience and I think of surviving adversity, fighting through adversity, coming out the other side. I look at all the highs I've had in my life, and I've had a lot of them, But then you look at that first line. I've gotten cut. I've lost games. I've suffered injuries. I've had teammates suffer injuries. I've had teammates have career-ending injuries. Gotten a divorce. I've messed up relationships at times with my kids. But at the same time, too, being resilient, trying to come out the other side, knowing the character I have, knowing what I want to do, and understanding by me improving myself, it's going to ultimately improve my children's lives. And just having that attitude to not say, shit's gone the wrong way or shit hasn't gone my way. And like I said, it started from, I said when we were on a break, my senior year of high school, I think we lost 9 games my senior year. We had fun. I made a lot of good memories with a lot of great friends. But get to college, like losing Joe, a close friend and teammate, to a career-ending injury, Costa with a season-ending injury. I mean, there's a lot of shit that happens in life that you don't expect. Like we said before, everybody has a plan. Tyson said everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face. Some people get punched more than others, sometimes more often than others. But are you going to be resilient? Are you going to give up? Are you going to come out the other side? And what are you going to look like when you do come out the other side?
I've experienced quite a bit of loss of, career, etc. And that is the hard part, because the bouncing back it's hard to find that inner strength when you're doing something that you love and it was taken from you prematurely. And it happened in football, happened in law enforcement. I loved both of those things. And then trying to be able to find a purpose and get back up and do it, that was hard because, again, you lose your identity with that. And I can't say that enough. You lose your purpose, you lose your identity, and you have to start over from scratch. And I know people start over from scratch all the time, but for me, that was probably the 2 most difficult times in my life. I just trying to find the next step, because I've never not had a plan. That was the plan, and now I don't have a plan. And being able to adapt, and find a different direction and find something I'm passionate about, no matter what it is I care about. And again, I can't stress this enough. It doesn't matter what it is. Only you can decide what you're passionate about and what your purpose is. No one can decide it for you. And that's where people struggle. Finding that whatever brings you joy, or finding whatever your purpose is, that's the hardest part.
And like Kevin said earlier, don't let somebody say no to you either.
Right.
I don't care if you are, I tell kids all the time, I go, you want to play college football? Anybody can play college football. You might not be able to play Division I football, but if you are the Energizer Bunny, I don't care if you're 5'8", 130 pounds. If you don't stop moving, there's going to be a coach that's going to say, we need him on our practice field. Mm-hmm. Maybe you might not start, but there's going to be a coach that says, we need that kid running down on kickoff, covering on defense. They're going to find a reason to have you on that field, but just don't let somebody tell you you can't accomplish your dream. Mm-hmm.
Some of the things that, we're talking about sports, but, some of the family, I know my grandparents made it 50 years. I remember watching their celebration, and my parents are coming up on 50 years. Joe, how many years your parents been? 50? I think it's remarkable because, growing up, you watch, 2 people, they argue, but they always come together and they find peace, right? Mm-hmm. So, thank you to all the parents that are role models, right? And then, the flip side, I also went through a divorce, and, it is hard on a family, especially like Christmases and stuff, because it's a little bit different. But, I think when we talk about, not judging a book by its cover, everybody's life is different, right? And if you're trying to compare yourself to somebody, you can't do that, right? Everybody looks different. And I think we're in a generation now with AI. I mean, I don't know. Some of this AI stuff, I'm telling you, like, you're talking to robots, you're talking to AI people. There's AI, simulators that it's just crazy what this world's becoming. And you're forgetting about who you are individually. Be proud of who you are, right? Some of the best sporting events I've been a part of, it was not trying to win a championship or win a game. It was just shooting horseshoes and just telling stories, or going fishing and just relaxing. I mean, there's a great story, us 3 sitting in a boat that really had 500-pound capacity. And I think if you viewers are smart, there's almost 3 times, the weight. We got water coming, about an inch off the side. Joe's, rocking the boat, and I was keeping close to the shore. But, did we catch any fish? I don't think so. We did. We're supposed to catch crappies, but that was probably one of the better times of my life. And you think back of college, and you two went to college, and I remember visiting you guys, and we were looking at a picture. We all had hair and, macho of our eras. But, time is the constant champion, right? We keep aging every day. And I think you got to take a deep breath and every day give gratitude and be gracious and be humble of how you got here. And sports is one thing, but, having a mind, right? And you got a body and you got a chance to do great things and help people. Sports is just kind of that entertainment. And we sometimes forget about that. Work, we all got to work for the most part. So, enjoy your time at work and then try to be, like I said, live yourself by the golden rule and try to be an influence on other people and try being that role model for your kids. And if we all do that, the world can be a better place, right?
Yes, it could. Well, in closing here, we're going to go over a couple of takeaways from these principles. Some of the key leadership lessons: extreme ownership. Own everything, no excuses. Discipline equals freedom. Small daily habits create big success. Stay calm under pressure. The best leaders thrive in chaos. No lone wolves. Strong teams always outperform strong individuals. True leaders serve. Leadership isn't about power, it's about responsibility. Some popular quotes: there's no bad teams, only bad leaders. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Leadership is not about being in charge, it's about taking care of those in your charge. Some of the final takeaways: success is a lifestyle, not a moment. Athletes don't just wake up one day and become great. It's a result of years of discipline, toughness, and consistency. The same principles that create champions on the field create winners in life. Whether in business, family, or personal growth, the formula stays the same. Work hard, stay disciplined, lead by example, push through adversity, keep learning and growing. I think to wrap up this episode, our next episode is going to be about how to become a leader, whether you're a young student, a youth athlete, somebody in business trying to become a leader in your field. We're going to talk about the steps to become a leader, but just talking about looking at the principles we discussed today. If you want to get a jump start on it, I think pick a principle that makes sense to you, that's doable, and start trying to lead by example using that principle throughout your week. Start keeping that at the top of your head and start practicing that principle throughout your daily habit, your daily routine, your daily schedule.
I think my closing thing is the two most important things I took out of this is one, service, and number two is find your purpose, and only you can find that. And then number three is the one I live by, and it was a quote from Tom Hanks in A League of Their Own. The hard is what makes it great. Everybody can do this. Not everybody can do this, sorry.
Yeah.
The hard is what makes it great. I mean, being a good person is not that fucking difficult. Being a role model is not difficult. Showing gratitude is not that difficult.
Yep.
It's a choice, and you have to make it every day.
Yep. And the same with leadership. Like we said, good leaders don't thrive in good situations. Good leaders, like we discussed, thrive in the middle of chaos, in the midst of adversity. And honestly, I thought you were going to say there's no crying in baseball.
Nope.
I wasn't sure where you were going with that.
All great points. I think what I like to, in business, I always dig down to the statistics. I remember that from baseball cards, looking at somebody's statistics, how tall they are, the weight and all this. But it really boils down to one thing that when I found this, it became peaceful. In computers, you have your plus and your zero, right? That's ones and zeros. That's how computers work. But I think in life, there's also that extra button from the Nintendo. It's that reset. I remember how many times learning how to be, in Super Mario Brothers, trying to get past that level 1 first jump. I mean, and then you do it and you lose your lives, but then you hit reset fast because you want to keep that persistence, trying to be better. In life, you can hit the reset button, right? You can review, and you're the one that has the power to change your life. Surround yourself with positive people. I think it's amazing in this world that, with social media, you have we talk about Olivia Dunn, how many millions of followers she has because she's a good looking, great looking girl, that lady that's in gymnastics. But your local preacher probably has 125 followers. Your local coach probably has maybe 500 to 1,000 followers. People that are the most important parts of your life, probably not millionaires or have a million followers. So I think we have to get this perspective of what's real and what's not. And these coaches and these umpires and these referees and all the local sports, that's what is helping our generations and give back. And it's helping the youth and helping our sons and daughters. We need more of that. So sometimes when you're sitting there, thinking about, hey, I got to take my family to a Packer game, or I got to go to the Bucks game or a Brewers game and drop a couple thousand. Well, why not donate $500 to your local basketball team or football team, or do those little things that helps your community? And if we do that, this world can definitely be a better place. So
Absolutely. Well, I think that wraps up another great episode. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'd like to thank our sponsors. One more time, we'd like to thank Pizza Del Rey, based out of Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
And we want to thank my coffee shop, Cabin Coffee Altoona, located at 2922 Meadowlark Lane in Altoona, Wisconsin.
See you next time.
Take care. Thank you for listening to another episode of 217 South Mills.
If you like what you heard, smash the like and follow buttons on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and X.
We'd like to thank our sponsor, Cabin Coffee Altoona. Tune in next time, folks.